All right. Ready to dive deep into mindset,
Yeah.
the new psychology of success. We're talking Carol Dweck here.
I'm excited for this one.
I think a lot of people are familiar with like the basic idea of growth mindset, but Dweck, she really goes in depth in this book.
Yeah, she really unpacks it and, explores all the different ways these mindsets play out in our lives.
So right off the bat, in chapter 1, she starts with these kids, right? Trying to solve these puzzles.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them just hit a wall and they're done. But then there are these other kids who are like, give me another one. Want to figure this out.
And that's where she introduces like the core concept, fixed mindset versus growth mindset.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And she really illustrates it so clearly with those kids.
Yeah, the ones who give up easily, they're showing that fixed mindset, that belief that intelligence is like you're born with a certain amount and that's it.
You can't change it.
Right. But the kids who are excited by the challenge, they're demonstrating that growth mindset, that belief that you can actually like develop your abilities.
And I think one of the things that like hit me hardest in this book
Hmm.
is how Dweck shows how these mindsets shape the way we see failure.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
Absolutely.
Like imagine, you have a rough day. You get a C plus on a test, you get a parking ticket, and then like a friend cancels plans. Someone with that fixed mindset is going to see all that and be like, see, I'm a failure. This is proof.
Yeah, I'm not good enough, right? Like it reinforces that negative self-image.
Exactly. But someone with a growth mindset, they might be bummed out, sure, but they're going to look at it as an opportunity to learn and grow.
Like, okay, how can I study smarter next time? Where should I park to avoid tickets? Maybe I should check in with my friends, see what's going on.
Yeah. It's not ignoring those like negative feelings, right?
Right.
But it's about like, what can I do? How can I use this? So chapter 2, inside the mindsets. Here's where Dweck really starts digging into how these mindsets like play out in real world situations.
Mhm.
And one of the examples that really stuck with me was that study with the pre-med students.
Oh, in the chemistry class?
Yeah, yeah.
That was fascinating.
They were taking this like really challenging organic chemistry course, and the students with the fixed mindset, as soon as it got hard, they started losing interest.
Yeah, because it felt like a threat. Right.
Exactly.
Like if I'm struggling with this, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was.
Maybe I'm not cut out to be a doctor.
Yeah, like their whole identity was tied to their performance.
Yeah. But the students with a growth mindset, they embraced that challenge.
Like bring it on.
Yeah. They saw it as an opportunity to learn and grow, to really push themselves.
It was like fuel for them.
And this is where Dweck introduces that idea that becoming is better than being.
Oh, I love that concept.
It's not about like needing to be the expert right now. It's about the process, the journey of constantly learning and growing.
It takes the pressure off, right?
Yeah, totally. It's so freeing. Another thing that Dweck unpacks in this chapter is that whole concept of potential and how actually a fixed mindset can really limit potential.
Yeah, that's so counterintuitive.
Like we often think, oh, this person has so much potential. But if you're stuck in a fixed mindset, you might miss out on those opportunities to develop and grow.
It's like judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
Yeah, that's a good one. Dweck uses this really powerful example of Loretta. She's this kindergartner who's like labeled as not as advanced as the other kids.
Right, based on like one test.
Yeah. And she ends up in this lower level class. And it's just heartbreaking because, at that age, they're just starting out.
Absolutely. And we've all heard stories of people who were told they had no potential and then went on to achieve amazing things.
Oh, yeah, like tons.
Wood's Einstein, right, struggled in school.
And it makes me think about, like, even NASA, right? They pick astronauts based on their ability to handle failure, not just on,
Yeah.
all their successes.
They need people who can adapt, learn, and bounce back from setbacks. That's a growth mindset in action.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so chapter 3 dives into the truth about ability and accomplishment, which I think is super relevant for, like, anyone who's ever felt intimidated by someone else's success.
Oh, yeah.
Like that whole, oh, they're just naturally gifted thing.
A natural myth.
Yeah. And Dweck, she just dismantles that myth. She talks about like all these iconic figures, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Babe Ruth, people we often think of as just like naturally talented.
Right, like they were just born that way.
Yeah. But she shows like the intense work ethic, the dedication, the years of practice that went into their success.
That 10,000-hour rule, right?
Totally. It's so inspiring because it makes you realize, like, okay, maybe it's not just about, being born with some special talent. It's about the effort you put in.
And everyone has the capacity for that, right?
Right. And it makes you kind of want to go back and like research all your heroes and see like what was their journey.
Yeah. What did they struggle with? How did they overcome those challenges?
So then we move into chapter 4, and now we're talking about sports.
The mindset of a champion.
Yes.
I love this chapter.
And Dweck really like contrasts these two, tennis legends, John McEnroe and Michael Jordan.
Yeah, such different approaches to the game.
McEnroe, like super talented, but he had this fixed mindset.
Yeah, and it showed, especially when he was under pressure.
Oh, yeah.
Those outbursts, the blame game.
It was all about proving himself, right?
Right. And when he didn't live up to his own expectations, it was a meltdown.
But then you have Jordan, who's like all about growth.
Relentless pursuit of improvement.
Yeah. He embraced challenges.
Yeah.
He saw them as opportunities to get better.
Like, I can learn from this. I can use this to improve my game.
And Dweck makes this really important point, that mental toughness is a learned skill.
Yeah, it's not something you're born with.
Right, like think about Mia Hamm, one of the greatest female soccer players ever.
Yeah.
She actually like emphasized honing that mental toughness.
It's so important, especially in sports where the pressure is intense.
And I think for anyone, really, but yeah, in sports, it's like you're constantly being tested.
You have to be able to handle those high-stakes situations.
Okay, but what happens when a fixed mindset infects a team environment?
Oh, it can be toxic.
Yeah.
Dweck talks about Pedro Martinez, the baseball pitcher, and Patrick Ewing, the basketball player. Both super talented, but their fixed mindsets kind of sabotaged their teams.
So Martinez, he was known for these like really intense outbursts, right?
Yeah, blaming others, getting caught up in the ego.
And then Ewing, he had this like resistance to sharing the spotlight with his teammates.
Yeah, it was like he felt threatened by their success.
Which is the opposite of what you need in a team, right?
Exactly. You need that collaboration, that sense of shared goals.
It's about like we're all in this together. We all want to win.
And that's true, whether you're talking about sports or business or any kind of collaborative effort.
So let's shift gears to the business world. Chapter 5 is all about mindset and leadership. And here's where Dweck really digs into how our mindsets can impact the cultures we create, especially as leaders.
Yeah, I love her analysis of the good to great companies.
Yeah.
These are companies that consistently outperform their competitors. And Dweck argues that a lot of it comes down to leadership.
And the mindsets of those leaders.
Exactly. The good to great companies tend to have leaders with growth mindsets, leaders who are focused on developing their employees, fostering collaboration, and creating an environment where people feel safe to take risks.
And that creates this like positive feedback loop, right?
Yeah, when people feel supported and valued, they're more likely to step up, be creative, and take ownership of their work.
But then you have the companies led by CEOs with fixed mindsets.
And those companies often struggle.
They tend to be more focused on like short-term gains, maintaining their own power, and proving that they're the smartest persons in the room.
Yeah, it creates a culture of fear and competition.
And Dweck uses these great examples like Lee Iacocca and Albert Dunlap, who both initially achieved success, but then ultimately failed because of their fixed mindsets.
Yeah, Iacocca saved Chrysler, but then became obsessed with his own image and neglected the long-term needs of the company.
And Dunlap, Chainsaw Al, he was all about cutting costs and maximizing profits, but at the expense of employee morale and long-term sustainability.
It was a short-sighted approach that ultimately backfired.
And she balances those like negative examples with positive ones too, like Jack Welch at GE and Lou Gerstner at IBM.
Yeah, they both emphasized employee development and created cultures of learning and growth.
So this chapter is a call to action, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, if you're a leader, you need to examine your mindset and the culture you're creating. Are you fostering growth or are you holding people back?
And even if you're not in a leadership position, you can still contribute to a growth mindset culture. You can choose to be supportive, collaborative, and open to learning from others.
Okay, so now we're getting into relationships.
Chapter 6, Mindsets in, Love, and Out. One of my favorites.
Yeah, this chapter really dives into how these mindsets shape our romantic relationships. And it's not like fluffy relationship advice, right?
No, it's real talk.
It's about like the deep-seated beliefs that can sabotage or strengthen our connections with others.
Dweck argues that people with fixed mindsets often have these, like, really unrealistic expectations about relationships.
They're looking for that like perfect match, right?
Yeah, someone who will complete them effortlessly.
And then when challenges inevitably arise, it's like, oh, maybe this isn't the right person.
Yeah, because if we have to work at it, then maybe it's not meant to be.
But Dweck contrasts that with a growth mindset, where challenges are seen as like opportunities to learn and grow together.
It's about understanding that relationships require effort, communication, and a willingness to work through those tough spots.
And she uses this great example of Ted and Karen. They're this couple whose relationship nearly falls apart because of their fixed mindset thinking.
They get stuck in blaming and judging each other instead of communicating their needs and supporting each other through those difficult times.
But they're able to save their relationship by like learning to respond to each other with support instead of judgment.
Yeah, which takes a conscious effort, especially when those fixed mindset patterns are so ingrained.
Totally. And this chapter also talks about competition within relationships, which can be such a killer.
Oh,
A
yeah.
fixed mindset can create this like dynamic where partners feel threatened by each other's successes or constantly try to outshine each other.
It becomes a battleground instead of a partnership.
And Dweck uses these examples like Susan and Martin, where Martin felt constantly overshadowed by Susan's popularity, and then Cynthia, who like unintentionally outshone her partners, which led to the demise of those relationships.
It's sad because in a growth mindset, your partner's success is your success.
That's like we're a team.
Yeah, you celebrate each other's achievements and support each other through challenges.
Okay, now we're going to get into like the really crucial part of this whole, conversation about mindsets. Chapter 7, Parents, Teachers, and Coaches. Where do mindsets come from?
Yeah, this is where Dweck really breaks down how adults can either foster or hinder a growth mindset in kids.
And I think a lot of parents might be surprised by this, but even well-intentioned praise can backfire.
Like praising intelligence or talent, it seems positive, right?
Yeah, you're like, oh, you're so smart. You're a natural.
But Dweck argues that this can actually send a fixed mindset message.
So it's like the kid starts to think, if I have to put in effort, then maybe I'm not smart after all.
Exactly. And then they start to avoid challenges because they're afraid of failing and no longer being seen as smart or talented.
And that fear of failure can be like crippling.
Yeah, it can really hold them back from reaching their full potential.
But Dweck offers some like really helpful alternatives, right?
Yes. Instead of praising innate abilities, she encourages us to praise effort, strategies, and perseverance.
So instead of you're so smart, you could say, wow, I love how you figured that out. What strategies did you use?
Yeah, or you really stuck with that problem even when it got tough. I'm so proud of your perseverance.
It's about focusing on the process, the effort, the growth.
And it's just as important to model a growth mindset ourselves.
Yeah, because kids are always watching.
If they see us embracing challenges, learning from our mistakes, and continuously striving to improve, they're more likely to do the same.
It's about showing them that it's okay to not be perfect, that making mistakes is part of learning.
And that we can learn from those mistakes and come back even stronger.
Dweck also talks about like the importance of constructive criticism, right?
Yeah, feedback that focuses on teaching and improvement rather than judgment and labeling.
And she uses this amazing example of Elizabeth, who's like this young gymnast who was devastated after losing a competition.
Her father's response is just a masterclass in how to provide constructive criticism.
Yeah, he acknowledged her disappointment, validated her efforts, and then helped her analyze her performance so she could learn from it without feeling like a failure.
It's about helping kids see that setbacks are not the end of the world. They're opportunities for growth.
So, I mean, it's clear that parents, teachers, and coaches play a huge role in shaping those young minds, right?
Absolutely. We have a responsibility to create environments that foster growth and resilience.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about how these mindsets shape the way we see ourselves, the way we approach challenges, the way we interact with others.
But the big question is, can we change our mindsets?
Yeah, that's where we're going next.
Chapter 8, Changing Mindsets.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
So picking up where we left off, changing our mindset, it's not always easy, right?
Yeah, like I could totally see myself falling into the trap of like, okay, yeah, growth mindset, I'm all about it.
Right, you talk the talk, but don't walk the walk.
Exactly. But then like when I actually hit a challenge, I revert back to my old ways.
Dweck calls this the false growth mindset.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's like, you say all the right things about effort and learning and all that, but your actions don't match up.
You're not really living it.
And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not enough to just understand the concepts.
Right.
You have to really internalize those principles, make them a part of who you are.
So it's about, like, aligning your beliefs with your actions.
Yeah, and it's a process.
It's not like you just flip a switch and boom, you have a growth mindset.
Exactly. It's about like constantly checking in with yourself, noticing those fixed mindset tendencies, and then like consciously choosing a different path.
Like building a muscle, you know?
Yeah, it takes time and effort.
One thing I keep thinking about is, like, how can we help others develop a growth mindset? Especially kids.
Yeah, that's a huge part of Dweck's work.
Like, what can parents and teachers do to create that kind of environment?
Well, she really stresses the importance of creating a space where effort and learning are valued, more than just like innate talent or instant results.
Right. It's about, like, the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly. And that starts with the messages we send to kids, both through our words and our actions.
So, like, instead of praising intelligence,
Right. Instead of saying, oh, you're so smart.
you can say, wow, I love how you figured that out.
What strategies did you use?
I'm so proud of your effort.
Exactly. Focus on the process, not just the outcome.
And when they hit a challenge, we can help them reframe it.
Yeah, instead of letting them get discouraged.
Right. Help them see it as a learning opportunity.
Ask questions like, what's making this difficult? What can we try differently? What have you learned from this experience?
Yeah, teach them that it's okay to make mistakes. That's how we learn and grow.
And just as important as what we say is what we do.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
kids are always watching.
If they see us as adults, embracing challenges, admitting when we don't know something, and being open to learning new things.
They're going to be more likely to adopt that mindset themselves.
Absolutely.
And I think this applies, like, beyond just parents and kids,
Oh,
right?
yeah. It's relevant for teachers, coaches, mentors, anyone who's working with others.
It's about creating that culture of growth where everyone feels supported and encouraged to learn and improve.
And to see mistakes not as failures, but as opportunities to get better.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about, like, how to cultivate a growth mindset, but, like, let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
We all have moments where we, like, slip back into those fixed mindset patterns.
Oh, absolutely.
You get hit with self-doubt, fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to give up.
It happens to everyone.
What do we do when that happens?
Well, Dweck offers some great strategies for dealing with those fixed mindset triggers.
okay.
The first step is just like awareness.
Recognizing when it's happening.
Yeah, like what are you saying to yourself when you face a setback?
Right.
Are you putting yourself down? Are you focusing on your limitations?
Oh, that inner critic can be so loud.
It can really sabotage your efforts.
Totally.
But once you become aware of those negative thoughts, you can start to challenge them.
So, like, instead of saying, I'm so stupid, I'll never figure this out,
Yeah.
you could ask yourself, what's challenging about this?
What can I learn from this experience?
Who can I ask for help?
Exactly. It's about shifting your perspective.
So it's not about, like, pretending that everything's easy or that challenges don't exist. It's about how you approach those challenges.
Yeah, it's about believing in your ability to learn and grow even when things get tough. And that's where Dweck's concept of grit comes in.
Oh, yeah, grit. It's like you don't give up easily.
It's passion and perseverance for long-term goals.
So it's about more than just, like, effort in the moment.
Yeah, it's about that sustained commitment to your goal.
Even when you face obstacles and setbacks.
And a growth mindset is so crucial for developing grit.
Because when you believe you can learn and grow, you're more likely to stick with it, even when things get hard.
Exactly. You see those setbacks not as failures, but as opportunities for learning and adjustment. You develop resilience, that ability to bounce back from adversity and keep moving forward.
So we've talked about effort, learning, grit.
Mm.
But Dweck also emphasizes the role of mindset in our relationships. How does a growth mindset help us connect with others in a deeper way?
I think one of the biggest obstacles in relationships is our tendency to judge and label each other.
Yeah.
We get into a disagreement and suddenly we're focused on all their flaws.
And we forget about all the good stuff.
Right, and we start to see them as fixed, unchanging.
It's like we're putting them in a box.
Exactly, and that's where empathy comes in.
Okay.
Dweck encourages us to shift our perspective and try to see things from the other person's point of view.
Even if we don't agree with them.
Yeah, even if it's hard.
So instead of saying, like, you're always so negative, we can try to understand why they might be feeling that way.
Maybe they're stressed or overwhelmed or going through something we're not aware of.
By expressing empathy, you create space for connection.
Right. It's about saying, I see you. I hear you. I may not agree with you, but I understand where you're coming from.
That can be so powerful, especially in those heated moments.
It can really de-escalate a conflict and help you find common ground.
And it all comes back to that growth mindset, both in how we see ourselves and in how we interact with others. All right, so we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into mindset. It's been a really thought-provoking conversation.
Yeah, I feel like I've learned so much, not just about, the concepts, but about myself.
Me too. I'm already thinking about all the ways I can apply these ideas in my own life. And one of the things that I find so, hopeful about Dweck's message is that it's never too late to change.
Yeah, you're not stuck with the mindset you developed as a kid.
We have the power to choose a growth mindset, even if we've been operating from a fixed mindset for years.
And that choice can have such a ripple effect, not just on our own lives, but on the people around us, too.
It makes you think about the kind of legacy you want to leave. Do you want to be known as someone who is always trying to prove themselves, or someone who is always open to learning and growing?
It's a good question to ask yourself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a little something to ponder.
All right, I like it. A little challenge.
Think about an area of your life where you might be operating from a fixed mindset. Maybe it's at work, in a relationship, or even just a personal goal you've been putting off.
It could be anything.
Ask yourself, what challenges are you avoiding? What opportunities for growth are you missing out on?
Just by becoming aware of those fixed mindset patterns, you're already taking a step in the right direction.
And remember, embracing a growth mindset doesn't mean you won't face challenges or setbacks. It's about how you approach those challenges
It's about learning from your mistakes.
and believing in your ability to keep growing.
This deep dive has been amazing. I'm so glad we got to explore mindset together.
Me too.
Yeah,
It's given me so many new tools and perspectives, and I hope our listeners feel the same way.
absolutely.
So thanks for joining us. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.